Hello and welcome to Trial by Fire. I'm your host and spiritual guinea pig, Niall, and I welcome you on board this crazy roller coaster that is life, although we both know you're already on it. Liminal safe space for introspection and diary of spiritual journeying, this podcast explores the mystical, the magical, the obscure, and the downright weird through putting in the time and the work, and through practice. And oh yeah, thanks for listening. Hello, witches with a B. I'm back. Did you miss me? Well, I really say that to my one listener who is apparently diehard. Yes, September has been a complete hot mess for me, honestly. My intention is to produce a podcast episode once a month. And last month, it was just so not possible. My God. Okay, so I was working 2 jobs at the same time. One of them is a night job, and the other one is a day job. And having both at the same time, that was just a hot mess. There were times where I was I would go to work for the whole day for one of them. And then the second one, I had 45 minutes and I'd have to get there. And then I would have a 12-hour shift. Not cute. Not going to do it again. Learn my lesson. But let's move on. Yeah, I'm so happy to be back because I was really damn it. I really need to record another episode. And now, yes, here I am. But I really felt like something was missing for September. Anyway, I've decided to sort of restructure. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Anyway, you're probably new to the show. Welcome. There are 3 major parts to this show. The first part is called the Botanical Bitch Chronicles. So for all my botanical bitches, you can skip directly to 8.15 minutes. The second part of the show is all about spirituality, about exercises, the exercise that I'm going to be practicing over the course of this month. I haven't yet thought of a title for this part, but if you can think of a title, then let me know. However, if you are into that stuff, I'm going to call them exorcists because you like exercises. Skip to 21 minutes. And finally, the last part of the show is called Tarot She Better Don't. Thank you, RuPaul. For all of my tarot toilers, you can skip directly to 25.10 minutes. Announcement over. Thank you. In the last episode, we covered the Hierophant. I'm talking about a card, a tarot card, or an energy that is going to be seen or is going to be particularly relevant in the months to come or the times in between an episode. Obviously, exceptionally, there was extra month in between. Thanks, Miss September. Something about number 9s. I mean, they're just mad because they didn't get to 10 yet. There's many ways that the Hierophant manifested for me in the last 2 months. Number 1, I had one of my friends is going through a particularly difficult situation. I managed to get involved with some kind of a gang. There was a lot of crazy stuff that happened that I really haven't seen very often. And I decided to offer my friend a place to stay. And honestly, it came with a lot of different disruptions. But one of the things that I learned really, or was being tested over the course of this period, has been my relationship with boundaries. Especially, I'd say, spiritual boundaries in a way. We have 2 bedrooms. One is called the North Room and the other one is called the South Room. Very grandiose sounding, but relatively humble. Usually I use the South Room as my meditation studio, as my little place for relaxation. And obviously then I had somebody staying in my room, which means that my meditation practice was kind of interrupted quite significantly. Nothing that, obviously we're relatively flexible, so, I could move, but I guess there was this idea that I'm kind of sanctifying this space for this thing and then that gets changed. So playing around with, the idea of spiritual boundaries. The Hierophant is all about connection with spirit anyway. And is also arguably kind of a messenger. I mean, it's thought of as the Pope. So it's the closest person on earth potentially to God. And as such, might be associated with holding the tension and the expectations of both the masses and of, religious people. Over this period, obviously feeling kind of overwhelmed with what was going on, I felt in a sense that my ability to hold the tension between the spiritual and material was actually not that great. The spiritual kind of took a back seat, and the material really was what was overwhelming. So I think that's kind of a very obvious way that the Hierophant manifests its energy, asking me what is taking precedence right now and what kind of energy do you have to give in this particular moment. The second way I feel like the Hierophant manifested in the last period is I had this, in French you'd say stage, but let's say like I had a magical workshop. It was 7 days of group practices and group exercises, super eye-opening. We worked on kind of group invocations and evocations of spirits or of energies from different traditions. We also worked with the construction of magic circles for work in protection, and we worked on the creation of a potion or an elixir. You know, the kind of energetic concentration that you need, how to work with plant allies. Towards the end of September, I started a new course, which is in herbalism. So I'm experiencing the interplay between like the role of a teacher and the role of a student. And I think it's very appropriate for this podcast as well, where my intention is not really to be a teacher of sorts. It's more to be, you know, as I said, a spiritual guinea pig, exploring spiritual practices. But there's a certain kind of pedagogical relationship that I have as somebody who's recording. I think I tend to have a propensity towards being that kind of teaching or taking a sort of pedagogical approach to the people around me, kind of trying to be a support figure. I mean, sometimes I feel like I must come off kind of overbearing in a sense that I tend to look at life as though there's something to learn from everything that happens, which for some people can probably be quite annoying, but being a student takes admitting that you really don't necessarily know. And then there are people that can give you answers. And I think that's quite difficult, or it takes a certain amount of humility, which I don't always have. Hierophant, powerful card, big energy. I'm excited to see what's going to come up this episode. The Botanical Bitch Chronicles. I set up my space as I did last time, and I thought that chamomile would be actually a really interesting plant to explore because it helps and assists the whole process of meditation, you know, the idea of calming the mind and quietening the thoughts. Very similar to linden, chamomile has so many attributes, it does so many things. It's mostly known, I guess, for its calming kind of effect. If you are like anxious, then chamomile tea, you know, like I have this cliche idea of like, oh darling, have some chamomile tea and calm down. And before the tea gets spilt, by the way. Something I really didn't know is that it's a bitter tonic. Bitter tonics are really good for helping digestion and assisting the digestion process. The action starts in the mouth, allowing already the bitter taste signals the stomach to start producing acid for the whatever is going to be digested after. When you leave chamomile for like 7 minutes, you have this very light, aromatic, calming tea. When you leave it for 20 minutes, that bitch is so bitter. I mean, I say so bitter, I'm being a bit hyperbolic, but it's fairly bitter. And that's something I just did not know about chamomile at all, that it can be used like that. Chamomile usually talks about 2 different species, one of which people call German chamomile and one of which people call Roman chamomile. German chamomile is known as Matricaria recutita. Matricaria is Latin for womb or matrix. Historically, it's been used to treat cramps and sleep disorders that are related to premenstrual syndrome, PMS. Recutita is one of the many kind of species that you have in this genus. And it actually means circumcised, which I thought was interesting. I was trying to figure out why does it mean that? And if you actually look at the flower, it's got this bulbous head, supported by this array of petals. So I can kind of see why they say that. I mean, it took me a while to figure that out, but chamomile, the actual word, comes from Greek and translates very loosely as earth, apple. So chamai meaning of the ground and melon referring to apple. And the reason it's called that is because, well, I guess they thought of it as having this apple-like scent. German chamomile is known to have higher concentrations of the essential oil, chamazulene, and so is more often used in the production of essential oils. Roman chamomile tends to be used more for skin disorders such as eczema because it has more soothing emollient properties to it. So I'm drinking my chamomile tea and I have this chamomile incense burning away in the background. Let's get into it. I'm going to try and make this as succinct as possible. So chamomile is an analgesic, which means a painkiller. It's anti-allergenic. It's anti-inflammatory. It's a bitter tonic, as I mentioned already. It's a bronchodilator, which opens up the bronchioles. I don't know, like opens up the airways. It's a carminative, which means that it helps to relieve problems with gas and bloating, intestinal gas. And you can tell that I'm studying herbalism, right? Upgrade. It's emollient, which is good for the skin. It's also a hypnotic and sedative. And finally, it's a nervine and relaxant. So it's got so many actions. We love things like that because that's where you get magical uses coming in as well. So what is it good for? Great for bloating, great for indigestion. If you suffer from IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, nausea and vomiting, also stomach ulcers, and if you suffer from wind, us windy girls, get some chamomile tea every now and then. Okay, well, in terms of respiratory actions, if you've got asthma, great. If you've got bronchitis, ain't nobody got time for that. If you have whooping cough, or wheezing cough, I don't know, what kind of cough you got, you can absolutely get some chamomile. In terms of the skin, it's great for wounds, and if you suffer from eczema, like us eczematic girls, I don't know if you can even say that, then you better put it on your skin. And finally, not finally, but emotional problems. Great for anxiety, or if you get irritated very easily, have some chamomile tea. Infantile colic, or which is like a problem where just babies cry. I feel like every baby got this, but probably not. So I guess some of them are really calm. It's safe for children, so you can use chamomile with your kids. If you suffer from nervousness and general muscular tension or stress, great. Headaches and migraines, general overstimulation, period pain, and especially good for the emotional side of PMS. Well, Niall, I would love to get some chamomile tea, but I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing with it. There are multiple different kinds of preparations, and it really depends on the kind of action that you want it to have. Obviously, for sleep, for anxiety, for overstimulation and things like that, you want to get get your flowers, put them in some water, 7 minutes, and you can consume this up to 6 times a day, which is, it's safe, it's fun for everyone. Oh, contraindications, that said. It's part of the Asteraceae, which kind of means star, but refers to ragweed plants. So that's also daisies are in this family. But if you suffer from a ragweed allergy, then chamomile is something that you shouldn't be touching with your bare hands, and obviously you should be careful about it. What else do I want to say? Okay, preparation. So yeah, as I said, the tea. If you are a gassy girl like me and some others that I know, let's drop other people in as well. The bitter infusion will be really good for you. So the bitter tonic action of chamomile. Instead of 7 minutes, you're going to leave it for 20 minutes. And you will see that there'll be a kind of more bitter taste. You can drink that before a meal or during a meal. Basically, if you drink it already a bit before, your stomach is going to be prepped with the acid and all of the things that are needed to help your digestive process. One thing to note about chamomile when you are brewing it as a tea, it has, volatile oils. The oils are susceptible to dissipating in the air or to being evaporated off. So make sure you put a lid on your chamomile when you're brewing it, and that way you can keep all the good stuff in. Moving swiftly on, to the magical properties and magical uses of chamomile. It's got a lot of, medicinal properties, and these kind of things are juicy territory for having a lot of different magical associations. Because, the plant will be used more frequently. Some of the major uses are attraction, calm, solar energy in general, because chamomile is associated with the sun. If you look at the flowers, there's a kind of sunny, a bit like daisies, there's this sunny aura about them. There's associations to Helios and deities and things that are associated with the sun. Sleep, love, protection, especially of the emotional kind. I didn't really talk much. I kind of skipped over the magic in the last episode, and actually in my introduction, you can find out a bit about like what is magic, how does it work, at least from my perspective. Teas and infusion wise, it's all about putting your intention and your attention on whatever it is that you are focusing on, or whatever you may ingest, or the kind of properties that you want to bring out into the world. So spending just time like appreciating the chamomile, let's say during like 10 minutes before actually preparing it as a tea, is the start of where your magic can come in. I spend some time with it, I smell it, I dive into with all of my senses, and in doing so, I'm also remembering my intention, which is, let's say it's to attract money. I'm looking at it, I'm plunging my attention into it, and I'm bringing to mind the specific association that I want. So attracting money, and then I think about the elements of chamomile that relate to money. So let's say the middle of it is kind of like a gold coin. So I'm putting my attention on like the coin kind of aspect of the plant. I think the thing about magic, as I mentioned in the very first introductory episode, is that you can use it however you want. I think the more creative you are with it and the more personalized it is, the better if you're not following a specific tradition. If you're following a tradition, you might think about, if you relate a lot to Greek gods, you might think about the associations to like Helios, in which case the sun energy properties of chamomile come in. So the idea of solar energy relates to illumination, to truth, to general energy. I mean, the sun is a very life-giving and kind of energetic body. And also for things like clarification. The list is not exhaustive. You can use this for whatever you want. During my magical training course, we actually did this potion together. We used Bay instead. We put as an energy, the solar energy. So it was more for like clarification or for like waking up. Finally, another major use of chamomile is to put it in a bath. And especially when it comes to like respiratory actions or even skin conditions, that's where putting it in a bath can be really interesting, because obviously you're kind of infusing it into your skin as well. And it's also being evaporated and you're inhaling the vapor. So, asthma and also eczema, if you put it in your bath, then that can be a really great way to use the properties of it. In a bath, one of the things that I read about chamomile is that especially to attract love. So again, you're kind of visualizing the love energy or using Venus as a symbol before you kind of do your preparation. And you can imagine the love energy or the love that you're looking to receive seeping also into your skin or being inhaled through your nose and into your respiratory system, thus into your bloodstream, into your body, into your brain, and manifested into reality. We love that. Finally, again, for sleep, you can think about things like, small bags. If you make a small bag and you can combine herbs together that have similar properties. So here, bay, actually, lavender, and in the last episode we talked about linden as well, which has similar properties of being like a hypnotic and sedative. So if you put these into like a little bag, before you kind of prepare it, you get into the zone, you put your intentions into it, hang it above your bed or put it into your pillow, and you can bring about this hypnosis or like this calm. I mean, hypnosis is really like sleep. It's kind of calming energy to prepare you for sleep or to assist you with going into sleep. Transition moment. I don't have the name for this section of the podcast yet, but this is the exercise of the month. In the last episode, we explored undirected vision, this soft focus guided meditation. That was all about allowing your kind of relinquishing control and allowing your mind to actually like guide you instead of us trying to force it to take us somewhere. I practiced this really intently until I started the second job when things spiraled a bit out of control. But I took very detailed notes about my experience of what was happening to me and what I learned from this exercise. I think it was really interesting, the idea of decentering my will, just to allow my brain to like show me what is behind things. Oftentimes it was very underwhelming, and then I had to sit with, or maybe I'm actually a bit underwhelmed by the fact that like I was expecting sparks and all of this. I think the beauty of it is that it took me a while to get into it, and to really surrender to the process. And then I started to see all sorts of things. I have to say I didn't really see many visuals, but I'm not very visual as a imaginer. In general, I think the kind of attention and the focus I started to really enjoy. And these moments that I was practicing, I had such a sense of peace and calm. I mean, and also this desire to like explore more. Meditation, I really enjoyed as a tool. And I think the more I practice it, the more into it I get somehow. When I first started meditating, I was really unfocused, kind of bored, but there's something about paying very soft attention that you start to surpass the boredom of it and start to see really like the benefits of, I don't know, again, the calm and the peace. It's like really like a different planet that you're on temporarily. As I progressed in my practice, I started to realize that there's just this dark space that exists and that I can kind of tune into. I don't know, it's a bit like you close your eyes, and the moment that you close your eyes, there's this dark room, and the room is essentially a manifestation of you, right? Like you are there. All of the space, let's say, that you see is you. So the second exercise that I want to start to explore, I'm calling space exploration. Space exploration for me is really about, actually, I was about to explain it, but I think there's another major factor that came into this, like my desire to explore the space that is internal, which is this anime called Jujutsu Kaisen. And part of it, there's this whole idea of domains. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but if you like anime, then go and watch it because it's really interesting. One part is this idea of you having a domain that you have full control over, that then you can bring other people into. And obviously, in this real world, I haven't managed to do that just yet, but the moment that you close your eyes, your domain is awakened. Like everything that you see and everything that is manifested, it's all coming from you, and a crystallization of your whole spirit or all of your life experiences as well. So this space exploration is kind of an extension of the undirected vision guided meditation. But instead of trying to relinquish control, all we're doing is observing our inner space. For me, it manifests as this darkness. And it's not as though everything disappears. There is space. So my idea is to try and explore that space, to try and travel around that space, and to understand like what are the boundaries of it. As usual, there will be a guided meditation to follow. It will explain everything that you need to do. It will explain the exercise. It will kind of guide you into it very softly. If you're not really getting it just yet, don't worry. Do the guided meditation and you will get it. Darrow, she better dump. At some point during these last 2 months, I decided that I would get a new tarot deck. I mean, new tarot decks and me, a bit of a problem, but I decided to get a new one that I'm not using for anyone else. I'm only going to use for myself. This deck is fucking beautiful. This deck is beautiful. I'm so glad that I spent this 70 euros on it because it's really like, I'm really impressed. And when I saw it online, I was really like, wow, great. It's got like gold on the edges of the cards. On the person who is featured in the card, there is like a halo of gold. It's called African Tarot. And it's made by Tazama. And so I guess I wanted to kind of like shout out to the ancestors, like, yo, here I am, help me out. And obviously the idea about having a tarot deck that's only for you is that you're not mixing the energies, so when you're reading for other people, obviously there's a certain amount of their energy that also gets in. And of course you can purify that. For instance, using quartz, if you kind of make a circle of quartz around your tarot deck and leave it overnight in the light of the moon, the idea is that it will be purified. That said, like this deck being my personal deck and also kind of having this relationship with the ancestors, I really like. Check out this deck. It's gorgeous. All right, let's draw. Messy. Okay, I have in front of me the world. The world is card number. It's interesting that for the 2 times that I've done this, I've had Major Arcana both times. Interesting. Because there are literally so many cards and there's a lot more minor arcana than major, but whatever. Okay, the world. Number 21. On this specific card, you have, again, like in the Hierophant, the 4 beacons of the element bearers. So you have, again, Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, and Leo. The transition of the seasons marked by then the fixed signs of the zodiac. If you look at the alchemical sign or symbol for the earth, actually you see this cross, which is a bit of a union between the 4 elements. The idea being that these elements are kind of more spiritual, and the combination or varying combinations of these 4 elements create the material or start to manifest what you can actually see. So the earth, again, the earth, a symbol of earth, and thus the material, which is the visible layer of reality, represented by 4 figures: an angel, an eagle, a bull, and a lion. There is this kind of thing that looks like a laurel around the central figure in the middle. Laurel is an interesting symbol. I mentioned it very briefly earlier, but you can think of it as bay, or even bay laurel. But it's a symbol of the sun. So you have this kind of link between what is the earth and the light of the sun. And then on top of that, you have, the sky as a backdrop. So it's this idea of like the light kind of illuminating the earth, contributing to this card's sense of lightness, which kind of seems like it's bearing a gift. I mean, so there's a woman, she's holding also a candlestick. Yeah, it feels very much like it's giving me a present. There's a bow in the center on which the woman is standing. I don't know, there's really a sense of like freedom about it as well. Like kind of a breath of fresh air. In general, the world is associated with finality, with endings, with things coming, bearing fruit or coming into fruition. The color is sky blue, and I feel like that also gives a sense of like freshness, of airiness, of lightness, and there's no image of the earth at all. I guess the card is a bit the embodiment of the earth itself. I mean, she's also wearing this dress that is this gorgeous blue, kind of blue-green, and has these brown-yellow parts on it. So it kind of feels very much earth. I guess you can think of her also as a bit Gaia, and like the fruits of Gaia that are being offered to you all of the time, or the fruits of the material world. Really, you're receiving a gift. And I feel like when I think about the world as well, I think about like the fact that by virtue of being on the world, we are caretakers, or like looking after the world, or at least we should be. So in that sense, I feel like there's a reminder that you are a caretaker, like you have a responsibility to the earth that birthed you, to have this relationship of care. Like if you care about the earth will care about you as well. I like that she's female. Again, I feel like there's something very comforting about the idea of Mother Earth. How do I feel like this reflects what's to come? Or maybe where I am right now? Well, I don't know. I hope that it's not about I don't know. I guess I think about endings, and there's something kind of scary about the idea of an end, right? Like it's the termination of something. But in the context of this card, I guess it kind of is showing me that Earth doesn't need to be heavy. Although Earth is kind of heavy by nature, it doesn't have to be heavy. There's also like the beauty of it, like the fullness of it, the fact that like there are cycles, the gift of, let's say, the present. Present keeps coming to me. Like, I mean, in this sense, it's like I've had this weird month in between. I've had this like time off. I feel like the present, me here recording this podcast for a mysterious audience. I don't know. It's a gift from me to you, but it's also like a gift to be able to do this, to have a position, to be able to share my interests. Something coming to an end. I don't know what the hell that's going to be. Let's find out in this month. I'm intrigued and trying not to be scared about endings. So there, on this, there'll be a comment section open. Please feel free to leave, comments about the podcast, your thoughts about it, any kind of suggestions or improvements you may have for me. If you feel like there's some kind of extra meanings about the world, share that with me as well. I will be revisiting the world next episode anyway. I'm going to be practicing this exercise this month very seriously, like I did for the first month. Twice a day, 10 minutes a day, maybe 15 minutes if I'm feeling a bit fruity. You can find me on Instagram at Trial by Firecast. You can find me on Patreon at Trial by Firecast 2. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I feel like, I'm slowly getting it. I'm slowly getting a feel for like what this whole process, what I want it to be, and how I want it to be as well. So thanks for being here. Bye bye.